Hi, everyone. Welcome to this webinar on creating a meditation practice that sticks, brought to you by Massage Magazine Insurance Plus and Kelly Smith. We're really happy to be able to offer this free webinar as part of our Massage Therapist Appreciation Week. Kelly Smith is a yoga and meditation teacher, founder of Yoga for You. Her teaching philosophy is grounded in the belief that yoga and meditation are not one size fits all, and she encourages her students to find their own personal practice, listen to their bodies, and find inner joy. If you have any questions that come up during this webinar, feel free to type those into the chat and we'll get to them as we move ahead. Welcome, Kelly.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so I'm just going to pop off camera and I'll come back on and ask any questions. And that's great. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Hello, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well. Karen, thank you so much for that kind introduction. So I'm Kelly. As Karen said, I'm the founder of Yoga for You, and I'm also the host of the Mindful in Minutes podcast, which is a guided meditations podcast. It's my little baby, and I'm a yoga and meditation teacher. And I'm really excited to be sharing all of this with you and to be basically sharing my love of meditation with all of you. So like Karen said, if any questions come up, I love just like a good organic chat. Maybe it's the podcaster in me, but I love just chatting. So if you have questions, please feel free to put them into the chat. And what we're going to be doing today, we have all sorts of fun planned, is first I want to dive into the difference between meditation and mindfulness. That's something that we hear used interchangeably a lot. And so I just want to differentiate the difference between the two. Then, because I love some good science, and I imagine all of you working with the body also love some good science, I want to talk about not only the benefits of meditation, but how meditation can actually change your brain and this idea of neuroplasticity. Then we are going to dive into how to create a simple meditation practice that will actually stick. So we're going to debunk a couple meditation myths, and I'm going to teach you my formula to create a simple and sustainable meditation practice. And I'll also incorporate just some ideas on how you can also start living a little bit more mindfully and incorporate mindfulness into your day-to-day life. And then we're going to wrap it up with a guided meditation. So our last about 10-ish minutes, I'll be leading you through a meditation, and all you have to do is just relax and listen and all of that. So that's what we will be doing today. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So I want to first talk about the difference between meditation and mindfulness. So again, we hear this used interchangeably all the time. And I, even with my own podcast name, right? Mindful in Minutes, it's a guided meditation podcast. But the difference here is that meditation is an action. So it's single pointed concentration on any object or concept. And the way that I like to describe meditation is like your mind is like a light bulb. So when you are walking around every day and you're just like living, taking this webinar, eating your lunch, whatever it is, your mind is like a light bulb and the light is shining in all directions. But when we're trying to meditate, we are trying to take that light bulb and turn it into a laser pointer. So we're trying to take all of that mental power that we have and we're trying to focus it on just one thing. So meditation in and of itself is just a verb to meditate, and it's single pointed concentration. So if there is really anything that you take away from this webinar, it would be that meditation is just single pointed concentration. Because I think for many people, we think meditation and we kind of think of this like elusive thing, and we don't know where to start or how to do it, or we feel like we have to somehow just like sit somewhere in silence and stillness and like turn our brains off and do nothing for half an hour. And that's not it at all. And we'll really be diving into like what meditation actually is and why it's so much easier than you might think. And then mindfulness is the quality or state of being fully present, aware, and conscious of your surroundings and state of being. So mindfulness, back to kind of that light bulb, it's like you are just being aware of where your light is shining, but the light is still shining in all directions. So you can do anything mindfully. You can do your dishes mindfully. You can fold laundry mindfully. You can, go for a mindfulness walk. You can really do anything, and you can do it mindfully, where meditation is single pointed concentration. So you can't do anything else while you're meditating. I know that for many people, maybe going for a run, you may hear people say, well, my meditation is going for a run, or my meditation is reading a book at night. And all of those are wonderful, beautiful practices. And when you do things like that mindfully, it can feel really wonderful and beautiful, but it is separate from meditation. Meditation is just single pointed concentration on one thing. So any questions or thoughts on the differences between meditation and mindfulness? They're both really beautiful practices, but we'll mostly be speaking about meditation today. So if there are any questions coming in.
We don't have any questions yet, but I will keep my eyes on this.
Awesome. I love that. So let's talk about some of the benefits of meditation. So meditation has been shown through peer-reviewed studies to boost your immune system. That's mostly because when we're getting to that relaxed state, as you all as massage therapists know, there is such a benefit, not only of course to the physical work that you're doing with the body, but also helping people get to that relaxed state where they're also slowing down. And so meditation also works with those benefits where we're finally slowing down and relaxing. So during rest and relaxation is when our immune system is strengthening and regenerating. That's why whenever you go to the doctor and you get sick, your doctor never says, well, go home, be really active, don't take care of yourself, don't get any rest. They never say that. They say, go home, drink water, get some rest. And it's because your immune system is working all day long and it regenerates and replenishes during rest and relaxation. You also can have improved concentration, mental clarity, and focus. And I'll talk about why that is in just a moment. We have decreased stress, worry, depression, and anxiety, a decrease in blood pressure, improved heart health and sleep. It encourages a healthy lifestyle. It can slow the aging of your cells, and it can also decrease the natural aging and atrophy of your brain. And then it increases brain gray matter and folds in the brain and the prefrontal cortex. And it can increase self-awareness and positive thoughts. And it's hard to kind of really study these things, but it is believed that meditation can also help you not, sweat the small stuff in the same way. People self-report that when they have a regular meditation practice, they don't get as upset over the small things and they have smaller reactions and have better emotion regulation. And it also has been tied to improving sleep and decreasing insomnia. So I don't know about all of you, but I could probably use all of those things on that list. I would love a healthy immune system, less stress, better sleep, a healthier heart. I would love if my brain, wasn't slowly atrophying every day, if it could slow down that process as well. And also, as a mother to a toddler, I could also use that emotion regulation and not getting worked up over the small things. That's a place where I've really seen my meditation practice helping me in my everyday life. So let's talk about the brain. So the brain, as we know, so important. I mean, it is just incredibly important. And what happens when we meditate is it can actually rewire our brain. So what I'm about to share with you, there's a woman called Sarah Lazar. She's out of Boston. She has some really wonderful, beautiful research on how meditation specifically changes the brain. And what we know through primarily her research is that over time, people who meditate for it's believed between 8 and 12 minutes. So I usually say 10 minutes is enough every day and over kind of this 6 to 8 week mark. So if we're meditating every single day for 10 minutes for 6 to 8 weeks, that over time, your brain will start to change. And what happens is the amygdala, which is the fight or flight, the pain and worry and anxiety center of the brain. The amygdala is kind of like the drama queen of your brain, that is going to start to shrink, and you will begin having smaller physiological responses to stressors. Where on the flip side, the prefrontal cortex, so the part of the brain, like if you're to do one of these, this part of your brain is going to get bigger and stronger. It's going to get more gray matter, and it actually gets more of the folds or the wrinkles in your brain, meaning that there is more surface area for there to be neurological activity and for more synapses to be developed. So why this is important, not just because, of course, the amygdala is, of course, the worry, pain center of the brain, but when it comes to stress and anxiety specifically, since the amygdala kicks that all off and it activates or is activated by the sympathetic nervous system, or that fight or flight, when we have an overactive amygdala, what happens is we have greater anxiety, and we also have larger, faster anxiety responses to things. So if we can shrink that amygdala and we can, in essence, have it atrophy a little bit, we will physiologically experience less anxiety. So meditation in and of itself, again, 10 minutes a day for 6 to 8 weeks can shrink the amygdala. And then the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that has to do with that emotion regulation, memory, higher cognitive function, that will start to grow and it will become stronger, and there'll be more mass there. So what we're doing is we are changing the brain through meditation by allowing you to have better focus and memory and emotion regulation, and having smaller anxiety and stress responses. There's also some really interesting work being done right now on how meditation can decrease the pain that we experience when working with people that have chronic pain or fibromyalgia, and looking at how meditation can help support pain management in that way by working to target the amygdala as well. So when it comes to stress and fear, stress is just a part of life. It is something. I was actually just listening to a lecture the other day by John Kabat-Zinn, who's a wonderful meditation teacher. And he was talking about how stress is the spice of life. And if we don't have stress in our life and we're just, walking around meditating all day long, we aren't really living a realistic life. We all can't just, check out and go live in a cave and meditate day in and day out. Maybe some of us can, but most of us can't. And so it's not about learning how to completely eliminate your stress once you start working with meditation and mindfulness. But what we're trying to do is learn how to live with our stress. So not only is our body learning how to adapt and have smaller reactions from the amygdala to stressors, that fight or flight response, but we also emotionally are learning how to manage and live with stress better and not let it overtake us. Any questions so far?
Well, we did have a comment come in from Michelle, who said that she's been taught that meditation is also going from activity to silence, and that yoga could be considered a type of meditation. So I didn't know if you'd like to comment on that.
Yeah, I'd love to. So depending on what lineage of yoga that you have experience in or have studied, I personally have been trained. My first training was in Vinyasa yoga, and I subscribe to the 8 limbs of yoga. And so there's these 8 different limbs of yoga, which is a whole nother webinar in and of itself. But one of those limbs is the asanas, or the physical poses that you do with your body. Another one of the limbs is meditation. There's also breath work. There's concentration. There's withdrawal of the senses. There's the way we live in our bodies. There's the way that we live out in the world. And then there's, union and hopefully being able to reach a higher consciousness. But from what I have learned, and my belief is that meditation is a part of yoga, but yoga is so much bigger than just the poses that are done on the mat. So yes, they are kind of all fall under the umbrella of the 8-limb path of yoga. But if we're thinking of yoga as like the physical poses that we're doing, that's going to be separate from meditation. And I think that first part, and you'll have to tell me, Karen, if I got this right or not, that meditation is from going from activity to silence. That to me very much sounds like that single pointed concentration. We're going from having the light shining in all directions, and then we're taking that light and turning it into a laser pointer and focusing on something. Now, what we focus on, we'll talk about this in a moment. There's so many things you could focus on when it comes to your meditation. It could be your breath. That's a really common one. It could be a mantra or a phrase or an affirmation. It could be what is called like noting meditation, where you just note as things come in and out. It could be a present moment meditation, where you just sit and be and just let things come in through your senses without trying to assign a meaning. It could be something that you're trying to will and manifest into this world. Your point of concentration could be anything. But it sounds like to me that going from activity to silence is just another way of describing this idea of going from the light shining in all directions to the laser pointer. So I love that question. So hopefully that gives our friends some more insight, or just my personal thoughts on that as well. So diving right into how we meditate. So now that we have a little bit of background on the difference between mindfulness and meditation, and also when we explore, and the reason I like to talk about the science aspect of it is because I think it's important to understand why we're doing this. Even in a moment when I'm going to tell you that, I'm asking you for 10 minutes a day. Our time is precious. Your time is precious. We are busy, busy people. And 10 minutes a day, that's a chunk of your day. And I get that. And so I like to explain why we want to do this. And sometimes we need to understand the benefits, just like with massage, right? Like I'm sure you hear this all the time. When I teach yoga, I hear people be like, oh, it must be so nice to just, sit and stretch with people all day. Or people say, oh, you just sit around and do nothing. As a meditation teacher, I'm sure, people say things that are kind of equally dismissive with what you do in your work with massage as well, which is really important, powerful work. And you're helping a lot of people, find health and work with their bodies. So, but I imagine that as massage therapists, you often have to educate people on the benefit of the why. Like, yes, it feels good, or, it might be relaxing. And a lot of times people know that they should be meditating, or that it, maybe will feel good, or it might be relaxing. But I often, as a meditation teacher, have to explain the science and the benefits and why you should care and what's in it for you. And I imagine that's something that as massage therapists, you have to do that a lot as well. So I always like to start there, that there is a whole lot of science behind the benefits of meditation. But now I want to flip it, and I want to talk about all of you. And I want to talk about how you can set up a meditation practice. Again, I think that, at least from my experience, many times people, when I say I'm a meditation teacher, usually the first thing someone tells me is like, oh, I could never meditate. That's what people always tell me. They're like, oh, that's so cool, but I can never meditate. And I'm like, oh, really? How come? I love hearing, why people can't meditate. And it's usually because, their brain is too busy. Like, oh, my brain is just so busy, or my mind, there's just like chatter all the time. Another common one, people say, oh, I'm so ADD. And from someone who does have clinical ADHD and dyslexia, one, I like to say that even if you have ADHD, you can meditate. It actually is one of the best coping mechanisms I found since my teenage years and struggling through school with ADHD. But when people tell me their brain is too busy, they can never meditate, I love to say, oh, that's kind of like saying you're too dirty to take a shower. Like, how are you going to remedy that situation? And how are you going to quiet the mind, right? It's through practices like single pointed concentration and meditation and activating the prefrontal cortex that's going to help you to be able to quiet the mind. So I want to, if you're sitting there and you're like, okay, Kelly, that's great, but I could never meditate. I ask you to just set that aside just for a moment, and then we can revisit, because I do like to hear why people think they can't meditate. I love to hear that, because they're valid reasons. But if you are wanting to set up a meditation practice, first I want to debunk a couple of things. One, we already know you do not need to sit for 30 to 60 minutes a day. I do not sit for 30 to 60 minutes a day. I don't have that time in my day, and it's just not going to happen. Like I said, studies show us 10 minutes a day is enough, so we can debunk that. Two, you do not have to have a quiet mind or be able to just, back to the light bulb, just like turn the light off, right? When you're meditating, and then all of a sudden your mind just like magically goes blank and there's nothing there. I've been meditating for years and have helped other people meditate for years. And I don't know anyone that has been able to do that. And I don't necessarily think that's our purpose, our point, is to somehow magically be able to turn off our brains. So that is not, it's kind of a myth we can debunk. You have to meditate by sitting on the floor, kind of crisscross applesauce. That's not true. We're going to talk about all the different positions that you can meditate. Many people believe you have to meditate in the morning. That's not true either. I will talk to you about when you may find the most productive time to meditate is, but the best time to meditate is the time that you're most likely to stick to it. There is no science that backs up that says meditation is more beneficial in the morning versus the afternoon versus the night. Now, many people like meditation in the morning. They feel like it's a great way to kick off their day, but it's kind of like a shower, right? Sometimes people like to wake up first thing in the morning and take their shower. Some people like to shower in the evenings. You are going to clean your body either way. Let's see, I'm trying to think if there's any other good meditation myths. If anyone has heard any, or if there's any that you're curious about and you're like, oh, I always thought that to meditate, you have to have a mantra, or you have to have a teacher that shows you how to do it, or you have to wear white or have an altar. That's another one that I've heard before, is that you need to have like an altar or like a dedicated meditation space. That you do not need either. Really, all you need.
Kelly, we've had a couple questions come in. Maybe this would be a good time to ask those. Could you give a couple of examples of what a single point of focus would be if it's not a mantra?
Yeah, absolutely. So you could focus on your breath. You could, when we do a guided meditation, your focus is going to be basically the story that I'm telling you. It could be what's called a present moment meditation. So that's where you take in all the information from your senses and you try to just sit and be with the experience, like trying to be fully present with the experience of life in that moment. It could be a loving kindness meditation where you focus on radiating loving kindness from your heart to all beings. It could be working on, if anyone is familiar or enjoys manifestation, you could be manifesting something and your point of concentration is that thing that you're trying to bring into the world. So there's many, many different things that you can use. In fact, right now I'm doing a small group meditation accelerator, and we meditate every day for 4 weeks, and every single day has been a different point of concentration. So there are a lot of different points of concentration. And what I explore often, and like in my podcast, every episode is a different topic of meditation. And so of course I'm leading it, but we do all sorts of different styles. And that is to help people figure out like what they like and try new things. So it really can be anything.
Yeah. Thank you. We have another question that came in from Michelle, mentioning that she's heard that it's best to meditate before eating so that the body can concentrate on the meditation rather than digestion. I'm wondering if you could comment on that.
I have heard this one before, and I've heard mixed things. From my understanding, I've heard different teachers say different things on that. So it's my belief that that is a personal preference. If you feel like meditating before you eat helps you to have a clearer mind, that's awesome. I personally have some blood sugar things, and I find that if I don't have something in my stomach before I eat, that it becomes hard to concentrate, and I get some like physiological responses to that. So my belief is it's personal preference. I've heard different teachers say different things. So Yes. Oh, I did see that. She said, I meant more for a big meal. Yeah, I think by and large, if you're trying to really like focus on something, like a big meal, that is going to make you lethargic and sleepy. And then you're probably more likely to fall asleep in your meditation, which we will talk about because that is something that plagues a lot of people, myself included. How do you not fall asleep during your meditation? Because it's going to happen, but we'll talk about time of day, how you might pick your time of day. And a lot of it is, are you going to fall asleep during it or not? Yeah. Do we have any other questions, Karen?
One other question that came in from Robert is, if I can meditate just once or twice a week, is that enough?
So I think that, Robert, you will get a lot of great benefits from that. You may take longer to really start to like feel the benefits of it and to start getting those benefits on a neurological level. What I might challenge you to do, Robert, is maybe start with maybe 4 days a week. And again, you only have to do 10 minutes. And one thing that I want to clarify is, and I have yet, but someone please tell me if this is wrong, but of all the people that I've worked with, and myself included, running a business, being a mother, and also having a spouse that is on the front lines of COVID. So they're only here a few days a week. So doing a lot of single parenting, I have yet to find someone that cannot find 10 minutes in their day, but it might have to be 10 minutes from somewhere else. So that may be setting your alarm 10 minutes early. That might mean 10 less minutes of sleep. That may mean that when you wake up first thing in the morning, instead of grabbing our phone right away and spending 15 minutes scrolling on Instagram, maybe we scroll for 5 minutes and then do 10 minutes of meditation. It may mean that you have to look at what you're doing in your life right now for 10 minutes that maybe doesn't serve you all that well. And you might have to take 10 minutes away from somewhere else. But I've yet to find someone that genuinely cannot find 10 minutes anywhere. So you will get some benefits, Robert, but I would encourage you to, try to make that time somewhere. And you could start with maybe even like Monday through Friday, if there's certain days of the week that seem to have it work best for you, that would be ideal. And then you'll be able to kind of reach those benefits, both physiological and neurological and emotional, a little bit quicker.
So we have one more question, and I don't know if this is outside the scope of this webinar, but Nikki asked if you could discuss something called Tumo breathing as it might relate to meditation.
Yeah, so I don't think I'm familiar enough with that specific practice to feel like I can add any value to that question, but I will say that a very common point of concentration is your breath. And with that, there's many different breath practices that people like to use. But in terms of that specific question, I don't know if I have much of value to add to that one.
And that's all we have for right now. Kelly, thank you.
Okay, yeah, lovely. So let's talk about how you can set up your meditation practice. So the first thing that you're going to do, if you're like, okay, I'm feeling good, I took this webinar, I'm ready to meditate. Awesome. This is how you're going to do it. First thing is you're going to find a meditation position. And all you have to do for a meditation position, this is the criteria. You need to be able to create a long spine. You need to be able to breathe without anything getting in the way of your diaphragm, so nothing inhibiting your breath. And you need to be relaxed enough that you aren't distracted by discomfort in the physical body, but not so comfortable you're going to fall asleep. So we've all seen that picture of someone kind of sitting in lotus pose or sitting, crisscross applesauce and sitting there and maybe chanting Om. You absolutely can sit that way in your meditation practice. Another common position is meditating in a chair. So sitting, you can't see the back of my chair right now, but sitting with a long spine, feet firmly planted on the ground and sitting in a chair. One of my most profound and deepest meditation experiences was when I got the chance to study with a group of Buddhist monks for loving kindness meditation, and they exclusively meditated sitting in a chair, and that was their preferred style. And that's what they did every single day. And I found that to be really useful. You can absolutely lie down. When you're meditating, I sometimes like to lie down, but bend my knees and ground my feet down. That's what feels good to me. You can sit on like a meditation cushion with your hips elevated. There is no As long as it fits and the spine is long, you can breathe without anything getting in the way of the diaphragm, and you're relaxed, but not so relaxed you're going to fall asleep, it works. There's also the kind of thing that is outside of this is a walking meditation, which could be a whole nother webinar. But if that's a style you personally like, you could certainly do that. But you could even meditate standing if that's what felt right to you. I've had the joy of working with my own mother, and which, if no one's had the joy of teaching your own mother something, it is an experience. And she is like a chronic fall asleep during anything. Since when I was little, she just is really good at falling asleep when she probably shouldn't be sleeping. And she had to really start like actually activating and staying awake for her meditation practice. She would meditate standing, and that's what worked for her. But she seems to be extra good at falling asleep. So I don't think that would necessarily be like an issue for everyone else here. So find your meditation position, play around. You can try different ones. There might be a different position for a different day. Just make sure spine is long, you can breathe, and you can relax, and that's it. Then you're going to decide what time of day might be best for you to meditate. I often teach people the first 10 minutes of your day or the last 10 minutes of your day. The reason being, not because there's any kind of magic that happens in the first or last 10 minutes of your day, but if we say, okay, I'm going to meditate over my lunch break, which is, a great idea in theory, but how many times have we intended to do something at some point during the day? And there's always something that pops up. There's something that, you get another client, or you have to run this errand, or you get a phone call, or whatever it is. And our days can be really chaotic. There's, it's a surprise and a little bit, of a mystery what's going to happen every day. But hopefully every single day at some point, you'll go to bed at night, and hopefully you'll wake up in the morning. And that might be the only thing that you can really count on during your day, is at some point going to sleep and then the next day waking up. And so syncing your meditation practice with either going to bed or upon waking up is, I have found, when you are most likely to stick to it and make it a habit, because you usually aren't trying to like smash a bunch of things, in between, right before you go to bed and immediately when you wake up. And again, you only have to do 10 minutes. So if that means, like, I actually have been meditating in the mornings before my little guy wakes up. So I like to get up. I have to get out of bed so I don't like fall back asleep. I usually get up, I go to the bathroom, I walk right over there into my kitchen, make a cup of coffee, and then I meditate. And sometimes I hold my coffee in my hands and just kind of feel the warmth of the coffee, like smell the coffee. And then I do my meditation practice for my 10 minutes. I set a timer, and then I'm done for the day. That's what personally has been working for me. Before I became a parent, I found that doing 10 minutes in the evening was best for me because it helped to quiet my mind so I could sleep better. So very last thing, I do my whole kind of like, nighttime routine, my creams, my pajamas, all the things. And then I would usually sit next to my bed with my back resting kind of up against the bed. And I would do 10 minutes of meditation then, and then hop into bed and go to sleep. And I have found that over years of doing this, that the first 10 minutes of the day or the last 10 minutes of the day are the easiest to commit to and to kind of set up as your regular routine. But if there is another time of day that you're most likely to stick to, then do that. That is the best time to meditate, the time that you are most likely to stick to it. Then you're going to set a timer, and 10 minutes is enough. Even 8 minutes is enough. And then you're going to meditate. So once you get to like the meditation part, you're pretty much like 90% of the way there. And remember that meditating, it's not just like shutting off the brain. It isn't, just doing nothing. You can kind of play around with a bunch of different styles and what your point of concentration might be. So in a few minutes, I'll be leading you through a practice so that you can experience some meditation. But there's a lot of really great books. There's a lot of really great resources, whether it's a podcast like mine, or if there's another style you like, You can find so many wonderful resources, even like YouTube videos. There's these great like apps. A lot of people use Headspace or Calm, and it's where someone can walk you through a meditation practice. You also can just sit and be and like feel for 10 minutes. That's been a style I've really been enjoying lately, is just like sitting and being quiet and just, how am I doing? How am I feeling? How is my breath? Like, what is my mind like today? Is it busy? Does it feel clear? Like I just try to be and live for 10 minutes. There's this beautiful saying, we're not human doings, we're human beings. So even taking 10 minutes just to be is great, or to breathe. You can count your breath. You can do inhale 1, exhale 2, inhale 3, exhale 4. There's so many different things that you can do to actually meditate, but we're just going to take 10 minutes to focus on one thing. And then when your timer goes off, you're done. And then you'll just do the same thing the next day. And it takes a while. I will say that usually you'll feel good after meditating. Like, it feels good to slow down and be present for a few minutes every day. But over time, you will start to crave your meditation practice, very much in the way where if you don't go and get a massage or get body work done for quite a while, like when you start skipping it, you can feel that you're missing it. And that's because your mind and your body will love it so much that when you don't give it that even 10 minutes of like nourishment every day, you'll start to notice, and you might become a little bit more reactive or frustrated, or you might feel like your mind, I often find like my mind sometimes gets foggy if I'm not giving it sort of that time, like almost like, we're supposed to floss our teeth every day. So sort of like you'd floss your teeth for oral hygiene. Like, I think of meditation as like my mental hygiene, and kind of like that mental flossing every day, just for, those 10 minutes.
So Kelly, before you lead us in a short guided meditation, this might be a good question to ask now. Came in from Susan. If someone has a lot of stressful or invasive thoughts, how can they stay focused on or refocused on that single point of focus?
I love that question. Thank you, Susan. So there's many different ways. I'm going to call these just generally like distractions. And I do want to talk about how we deal with distractions. And that's not to minimize, Susan, what you originally said, where you kind of had these like obtrusive thoughts, or maybe thoughts that aren't that pleasant. But the first thing that I challenge people to do is to welcome distractions. Distractions are a very, very important part of the meditation process. If we were never distracted, there would be no point of meditation. We would just be able to flip a switch and have perfect concentration on whatever it is that we were doing. And part of the process is the struggle. Part of the process is getting distracted and guiding yourself back to your point of concentration. So the first thing is kind of changing the way that we think about it. It's a meditation practice. I was actually just talking to my group yesterday. In fact, we were talking about this exact thing, that, what if an anxious thought comes in, or a thought that I don't really care for, I don't want to be thinking about, like, how do I truly welcome that? And part of it is when a thought comes in, is to practice and learn how to sit with those feelings or those uncomfortable thoughts. And if we can explore them and sit with them in our meditation practice, then the hope is that we can then learn how to live and sit with and experience those in everyday life. So if you think about your meditation practice and dealing with distractions when you're practicing meditation, it really is training you and preparing you to then be able to deal with it out in everyday life. So I challenge you to not get frustrated by the distractions, or to think that when you get distracted, it's bad, and when you aren't distracted, it's good. There is no good or bad when it comes to meditation. It all just is the experience that you're having. We're just trying to be and experience. And if we can step away from those labels of good or bad, or distracted or not distracted, and try to just welcome the experience, even if it means the mind feels busier or thoughts come in. Now, when thoughts do come in, I like to do something that's called the 3 R's. So recognize, release, and return. So recognize that your mind has wandered. You can, and be gentle and soft with yourself, and be like, oh, shoot, me, Kelly, personally, I really struggle when I meditate to not let my mind wander to what I'm doing next. That happens to be my personal meditation pitfall, where I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this next. Or once when I'm done with meditation, I have to hop on this call. I have to do that thing. That just seems to be where my mind goes when I try to slow it down, is like my to-do list and planning my day. So first I have to be kind to myself and be like, oh, dang it, Kelly, like, you're wandering again. You're writing that to-do list. Like, okay, bring it back to your breath, or bring it back to your mantra, or bring it back to, scanning through your body. So you have to recognize that you're distracted and then just release it. It's holding on to it and trying to like, just really assign meaning to it and be like, oh, dang it. And then all of a sudden you're telling your story around this distraction and you have all these feelings about it. And you just kind of just let the distraction just come. Like if you were watching a river going by, a leaf could come down, fall down a tree on the water, move through the current, and just let it keep going. So come down, oh, a leaf, just keep going. Like, oh, a thought, oh, I'm doing my to-do list again, right? Recognize, release, and then just return to your meditation and gently guide it back. Very much like when my son, takes off and runs towards the bathroom. He currently likes to throw things in toilets. I don't know. This is just a thing he's currently doing, right? I don't like run screaming after him and then like grab him and be like, no, we don't throw things in toilet. Like once he starts heading that direction, I'm just like, oh, let's go back this way. Let's find some more books, right? Just gently guiding yourself. Your mind is kind of like a toddler, guys. It's sort of, can throw temper tantrums. It may not want to be controlled. It can be a little bit erratic. And so be nice and soft and kind with it and just try to guide it back. So recognize, release, return is probably one of my favorite methods of dealing with distractions. And just being soft and gentle with it. It's 100% a part of the process. Just like when you are lifting weights and getting stronger, having the muscles burn, struggling, the challenge of it, that's part of the process of getting stronger. Do we have any other questions, Karen?
Well, another question is from Stephanie, who asks how meditation can be incorporated into practice with clients. So, massage therapists are working hands-on with a client for 60 to 90 minutes typically. So is this a place and space that meditation can occur?
Absolutely. And I appreciate you asking that question. I would say the most common way that I've seen is massage therapists incorporating guided meditation in their practice. So I've had quite a few massage therapists that have gone through meditation teacher training with me, and many of them after the fact are either helping their clients, either directing them to really focus perhaps on their breath in particular, like if you're working on a tight area or there's like some physical sensation happening. I point to this because this is where mine is, but usually having their client focus on their breath. Or I haven't experienced this for myself, but I've heard from massage therapists that have taken meditation teacher training with me that they have really enjoyed incorporating guided meditation with their clients. And so they're on the table, they're working on a certain area of their body, and they are also kind of speaking and leading a short guided meditation for their clients. Or they may start their session with a very short, simple, like 2-3 minutes of guided meditation to kind of get their clients in that headspace. So that's where I've seen it most commonly used with massage therapists and incorporating it in the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do we have any other questions, or do we just want to meditate?
Let's meditate.
Yeah, let's meditate. I love it. So wherever you're at right now, find a comfortable position. So long spine, we can breathe without any issues, and close the eyes if that feels good to you, and relaxed, not so relaxed or going to fall asleep, but relaxed enough where we aren't holding tension in our body. So go ahead and find a comfortable position, maybe just in the chair. We'll close the eyes. And just start to let go of whatever happened earlier today, whatever is happening later today or this week. And maybe just giving yourself permission to take these next few minutes just for you. And we'll begin by taking 3 deep cleansing breaths. So just inhale through the nose, sigh it out through the mouth. Go ahead and do that 2 more times. Really just letting go and releasing on that breath out. And then allow your awareness just to fall on the gentle rise and fall of the belly as you breathe in and as you breathe out. So just feeling that breath dancing in and out of the body. Knowing that there is nothing you need to do. There is nowhere you need to be. There's no end game here, no finish line. We're just going to sit and breathe and be. And now take a mental scan of the body, noticing any areas where maybe you are squeezing or clenching or holding tension. And as you continue to breathe, every time you exhale, feel those areas soften, even if it's just by 1%. Becomes 1% more relaxed. And on the next breath, 1 more percent. Just feeling your body begin to soften and respond to the breath. And now check in here. How are you doing today? How are you really doing? What's happening in your body? What's happening in your mind? What's happening in your heart? What's happening for you right now in this moment today? And as you continue to breathe, just sit and be. Feel yourself moving to a space of stillness with every single breath cycle. If thoughts come in, welcome them with open arms. Just recognize, release, and return to your breath. Just letting yourself be still and present. Every breath acting as if it is your first, last, and only. Every breath is unique. This breath you're about to take, you've never felt before. So fully experience it. Now take a big deep breath in through the nose. Sigh it out through the mouth. Wiggle fingers and toes and gently blink the eyes open. So that was just a short, I think about 7 or 8 minutes of meditation. I'm happy to take a few more questions here as we wrap up, or if anyone has any thoughts or questions based on the practice that we just did, I would love to hear it.
Yeah, so Melissa asks if we can get more information on meditation instructor course.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I can do is I will send a little email out a little bit later this week, and I can send a little invite for all of that. Enrollment for the next one starts soon, and I will probably give you guys a little something special in that email. So yes, I will send out information on that, and also my podcast as well. It has over 150 just completely free guided meditation. So all of them are less than 20 minutes. So they're easy to fit into your day. So I can send that out as well. Any other thoughts or questions?
We haven't had more questions come in, but you're getting lots of gratitude and love from attendees, people saying that the meditation was wonderful, giving you peace and gratitude, saying they love the meditation. Actually, Anna says she would love to know more about your podcast as well. So maybe that will be in the email that you send to attendees.
Yeah, I'll send that as well. So I'll send a lot of free resources, and also a little thank you gift as well, because who doesn't like little gifts? And I am so grateful for all of you for sitting and listening, letting me share my love of meditation with all of you, and taking a few moments of stillness and peace in this chaotic world as well. So thank you so much to everyone that joined, whether it was in person or if they're watching the replay later. I'm incredibly grateful. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Kelly. So this has been a webinar brought to you by Massage Magazine Insurance Plus and Kelly Smith as part of our Massage Therapist Appreciation Week. You can learn more about Kelly and her Yoga for You programs at yogaforyouonline.com. And as Kelly mentioned, registrants for this webinar will receive a replay via email. And thank you, everyone, for attending.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.